The film unfolds the chilling tale of terrifying, man-eating titans who launched a merciless hunt against humanity. These monstrous beings drove the weakest survivors to seek refuge behind massive protective walls. For 100 years, the Titans remained unseen, and over time, the looming danger began to feel like a distant myth to those living within the enormous fortress. But the illusion of safety was shattered in the most horrifying way. Without warning, the Titans tore through a section of the wall, stormed into the settlement, and devoured countless civilians. Amid the chaos and destruction, a few survivors emerged, people who refused to give up and were ready to fight back. The movie offers a brief glimpse into the past. One day, enormous titans mysteriously appeared on Earth. These towering humanoid creatures, marked by grotesque smiles, began a relentless massacre. They consumed the majority of the human population, and humanity stood on the brink of extinction. However, the remaining people found a desperate solution. They constructed 3 colossal walls, each forming a ring around a vast territory. Life was rebuilt within these barriers, and for a century, not a single titan was seen. The silence gave rise to doubt. People began to dismiss the Titans as legend, but their return proved the nightmare was far from over. The next scene takes us to a working-class neighborhood, where we meet the main character, Armin. He hears from his parents that his friend Eren has been fired from his job again. The boy runs to find his friend. Finally, his father tells him that he has no job for Eren. The city around them resembles the 19th century. Suddenly, Armin is called away by a child who says that the invention Armin created is broken. The boy takes the invention and promises to fix it. On their way through the city, the boys push a strange man whose face is hidden by an old cloth hood. He then picks up his best girlfriend Mikasa from work and continues to search for Eren. The 3 friends are finally reunited on a green field next to an old unexploded rocket. Eren stands on top of the bomb, looking off into the distance at the wall that rises to the sky. Eren bravely spends time on the projectile, even kicking it. However, another attempt to show off quickly sends the boy to the ground. The teenager falls from the rocket and rolls straight to his friends. Mikasa immediately runs to Eren, and he stands up and says that he is tired of hiding behind the walls, not knowing what is happening behind them. He says that it would be better if that rocket exploded and took everything with it. He does not want to live a life that is meant for the inhabitants of a huge fortress. Eren also says that he quit his regular job. Armin and Mikasa try to find out from their friend what he wants to do in life. After that, Armin shows Eren a battery-powered mechanism he has assembled, which he took from his little friend to repair. The boy says that he wants to see a lot of things. Realizing that he may have to spend the rest of his life behind a wall, the protagonist kicks the rocket he recently fell from. At this moment, a piece of earth falls off the rocket. An image of a woman in a swimsuit appears on the metal, and the ocean is painted next to it. The friends are not even completely sure that such a large body of water exists at all. Mikasa looks thoughtfully at a bird flying by and rhetorically asks if it has ever seen the ocean. Eren calls his friends to follow him and leads them to the security camp, behind which is a mesh fence and an outer wall. Carefully maneuvering between the ruins, the boys pass the military's line of sight and reach the fence. Eren immediately finds a hole in the fence, and the friends crawl through to the wall. Finally, the group of friends approaches the wall. They are surprised because they have never seen a wall before. At one point, Mikasa starts coughing, and Eren gives her his scarf. He says that the Titans are long gone, that it's all fiction, but Armin reminds him that according to the stories, a bomb exploded outside long ago, making it impossible for people to survive. There were only Titans left. Eren listens to his friend in disbelief. Unnoticed, the guards approach the teenagers. They try to capture the intruders, but Eren engages the soldiers in a fight. They want to execute him on the spot, but the fight is interrupted by an adult soldier. His name is Suda. He is the old captain of the local garrison and the former lover of Eren's mother. The man dismisses his subordinates and says that he will deal with the children himself. Instead of punishment, Suda offers the protagonist to join the intelligence corps. According to him, the council has already approved the initiative and active work is underway in this direction. However, before the teenager can answer, the wall begins to shake from enemy attacks from the other side. Suddenly, a huge and distorted Titan's head appears above the wall. He furiously bursts into the settlement and tries to break the barrier. For a long time, Suda and the teenagers stand motionless, refusing to believe their eyes. The soldiers do not know what to do. Meanwhile, a huge hole appears in the wall, and stones begin to fly over the heads of the fortress's inhabitants. The garrison deploys their cannons and points them at the wall. Suddenly, other faces of giant ugly creatures appear. For the first time, we see ordinary Titans. They smile, get into formation, and start attacking the city of people. Some individuals walk slowly, others crawl and run on all fours. The first volley of cannons is heard. The cannonballs hit the target. The soldiers rejoice in their success, but it doesn't last long because the wounded monsters quickly rise and regenerate, continuing their movement. Eren says that in the legends the Titans were immortal, and it seems to be true. When the first monsters reach the humans, they begin their vile feast, shoving soldiers and other people into their mouths. The giants are advancing, destroying everything in their path, and haphazardly devouring those who come to hand. Teenagers begin to flee to the settlements. They reach the residential neighborhoods at the same time as the Titans. Under the continuous rockfall, the monsters reach people from everywhere. It is almost impossible to hide from them. Once they reach Armin's father and eat him in front of his friends. Titans grab people from the crowd and immediately eat them with pleasure. They look very ominous. The people are heading for a wooden cathedral with powerful doors. In a panic, people fall into the mud and are trampled by those who are running. Even women and children are trampled on. A mother cannot escape. She tries to hide her child. Eren grabs her and carries her to a shelter. In her hurry, she does not have time to take the child and is separated from her. Mikasa runs out of the crowd and covers the crying child with her arms. She is not allowed to get to her feet, and a stream of people carries Eren and Armin out the door. The girl is left on the street. Suddenly, the people in the shelter decide to close the passage. They are afraid that the Titans are too close and refuse to let their fellows in. When the monster approaches Mikasa, all the people jump away from the door. Her fate remains unknown. For a brief moment, the cathedral is silent, and Eren decides to run outside to save his beloved, but he does not find her. The doors of the shelter quickly close behind him. However, the people underestimated the monsters as they gathered in a crowd and calmly removed the roof of the shelter. The closed door does not allow the residents to leave the premises, and they die. Eren is unable to do anything to help. Limping, he walks deep into the ruined city. The plot of the movie takes us 2 years later. We are shown the training camp of the Reconnaissance Corps, where new recruits, including Eren and Armin, are being prepared for a raid between the second and outer walls to destroy all the Titans who manage to get there. By this point, the settlement is facing an increasingly acute issue of overpopulation and the growing threat of starvation. The new military unit is commanded by Captain Hanji. She is a fearless explorer with a passion for Titans. She gives an inspiring speech and tries to demonstrate the capabilities of the new vehicle. She tells us that the Corps is going on an expedition, during which the scouts are to meet Shikishima and his team. At the mention of the experienced warrior's name, the crowd immediately begins to applaud. Shikishima is a legendary fighter who is preparing a bridgehead for a future attack on monsters. He has long since left the settlement and is wandering in the space that the Titans have captured. He has long since left the village and is wandering in the space that the Titans have conquered. The meeting will take place after sunset in the Manzan area. At night, the Titans do not see well and usually sleep. Therefore, they can be taken by surprise. The soldiers finally approach the mesh fence and say goodbye to their families. Eren watches the touching scene from a distance. He catches up with Armin, who is crying, and tells him that there is no one else to wait for them. We learn that Eren is an orphan. At this moment, a little girl comes to the fence and gives Armin her toy. The next episode takes us to the dining room, where the scouts are eating and preparing. Eren and Armin meet Suda. He got drunk and became an old cook in the kitchen. The man is happy to see his friends alive. He gives his friends advice and learns from them about Mikasa's disappearance. Eren blames himself and vows revenge. Suda tells us that he lost his wife and child during the monster's attack. After that, we meet the next girl, whose name is Sasha, a thin but very voracious girl. She spends most of her time begging for food. Armin explains the plan that the Reconnaissance Corps has to execute. The soldiers plan to enter the Manzan area where the hole has formed and detonate explosives inside it so that part of the wall will close the hole. According to the command's calculations, the wall should sag, but it will still be twice as tall as the Titans. Sasha eats an improvised model of food before he can complete the task, and Armin sadly states that all previous similar missions have failed. The Titans immediately attacked the scouts and destroyed them. He also says that the settlement is running out of supplies, and this is humanity's last chance. After listening to everything, Sasha asks for more food. When she is refused, she tries to object. One of the scouts named Jean enters the conversation. He says that all the people present were simply sold by their parents to stop feeding them, and that the entire Corps consists of people who cannot find a normal job. Shouting insults, he causes fear in one of the girls. Armin says that this rude man calmed down because he is afraid. The offender attacks him and tries to prove that he is not afraid. At this point, Eren appears. He asks the offender questions, and it turns out that he has been lying to everyone and has never seen the Titans. Jean immediately loosens his grip. Eren calls him a braggart and a slacker, but Hanji intervenes. She says that she doesn't know how Titans reproduce and regrets that she hasn't been able to study any of them. She announces a meeting of the soldiers in 10 minutes. Finally, the offender tells Eren that the boy has left Mikasa in trouble. At this point, Eren rushes into the fight, but he is grabbed and dragged away by a large man who is famous for his extraordinary strength. His name is Sanagi, and his main weapon is an axe. Later, all the soldiers get into large cars and drive to a dangerous area. Inside the car, the soldiers are talking. Sanagi turns out to be from the farm. He says that in fact, all the scouts are going home now. After all, most of them grew up in the destroyed part of the fortress. The first goal of their campaign is the Amatmachi bridgehead. The scouts have to get there at night without waking the Titans. The mission commander notes that the monsters have a good ear for people. They can hear a person from many kilometers away. That's why we have to be very quiet. The cars pass through the inner wall, and the expedition begins. Sanagi tells Eren about some kind of Titan-slaying goddess who is waiting for them with Shikishima. All that is known is that she has killed dozens of monsters recently. Suddenly, the cars come across a strange obstacle. They are ordered to stop and told that they need to check the neighborhood. Walking around the neighborhood with flashlights, the scouts find nothing interesting except abandoned cattle and potatoes, which Sasha starts to nibble on raw. At one point, a girl named Hyana hears the voice of a child and claims that the child was abandoned by his parents. She goes to help, and the boys follow her. They find something frightening and unexpected, to say the least. The find turns out to be a monstrous Titan baby. At one point, the child starts screaming loudly and attracts the attention of his relatives. The scouts gather together and prepare for defense. At this point, General Kubal and his security subordinates climb into their cars and drive away. Kanji follows the command in the car and orders his subordinates to flee. For some reason, none of them knows how to use the UPS and does not even try to do so. It's as if the soldiers were never trained for real action. One of the Titans catches up with Armin and tries to eat him, but the big guy Sanagi comes to the boy's aid. With a deft move, he throws the huge Titan over himself. While the new recruits are running in panic, the same warrior named Shikishima is in the next building. When his partner approaches him and throws a cape over his shoulders, they finally decide to go outside and help the inept scouts. The group hurriedly flees, but a huge Titan stands in their way. At this point, Eren recalls the training at the base, where he was told that the neck is the weak point of Titans. As he recalls this information, Shikishima and his partner appear on the battlefield. Eren recognizes a familiar face in the girl. It is Mikasa, but she does not pretend to know him. Shikishima and Mikasa quickly destroy all the monsters present, and the survivors enter the room. Another mission awaits them. They need to pick up the explosives, load them onto the APC, and continue to the door near the wall. The soldiers find the explosives in a secret hatch under the base. At this point, Jean begins to accuse Eren of being responsible for the Titans' attack on the squad. He starts a fight and loses. Mikasa and Shikishima come to the noise and stop the fight. Shikishima leaves, and Eren follows him. The scout gives the boy some advice, saying that he needs to learn to fly. Armin tells Sasha how he started making battery-powered toys. Then he shares with her the story that the boy to whom he promised to fix the invention died. The general comes to hear his story and reminds him that in his opinion, progress does not lead to anything good. After that, Eren comes to Mikasa while she is playing the piano. During a brief conversation, he learns that the baby his beloved was protecting died, and that she herself was bitten but not killed by a Titan. At this point, Shikishima appears in the frame and hugs Mikasa. Eren can't stand what he sees and runs outside to scream. He is silenced by his friend from the scouting team so that the boy does not attract the monster's attention. Together, they go back down to the basement and look at a married couple. The girl asks Eren to become the father of her baby, who remained in the city. She shows him attention. However, the next person to show attention to the soldiers at the halt is a huge Titan. He grabs Eren's companion and immediately eats her. A similar fate befalls the man of the couple, but he ends up getting stoned to death. The Titans are advancing and panic sets in. The members of the reconnaissance corps try to use their UAS for the first time. Sanagi chops off one of the Titans' legs with his axe. Taking advantage of the panic, a hooded terrorist, who was shown to us at the very beginning of the movie, tries to steal the car with explosives. It's important to note that this is the last explosive left in the car. However, the villain is prevented from completing his plan by a woman who has lost her husband. She jumps into the truck, accidentally setting a box on fire with a flashlight. The woman seizes the cab, knocking out her husband, who is wrapped in a cloth. The grief-stricken girl directs the flaming truck at the first Titan she sees. The explosion knocks several monsters off their feet. Watching all this, Eren also joins the fight. Frightened, Jean watches his comrade in arms fly away. In the end, Eren is still unfortunate. In flight, the Titan bites off his leg and throws him far off the battlefield. He lies unconscious on the concrete, trying to regain consciousness. Shikishima looks at the fallen Eren and continues to fight the Titans. Jean is trapped. He is surrounded by Titans on the roof. To save him, the scouts begin to distract the giants. Sasha shoots them in the eyes with a bow, and Sanagi chops off their legs. Jean jumps off the roof, kills one of the monsters, and runs to find Eren. At this moment, Armin grabs the Titan and shoves it into his mouth. Sasha's shots don't work, and Jean can't pierce the thick skin on his back. At the last moment, Eren throws Armin outside, but he himself falls victim to the voracious monster and loses his arm. The protagonist falls into the stomach of the animal, where he begins to slowly dissolve. Outside, the battle continues. The monster has trapped the scouts, and the general and the guards have evacuated by transport. Armin hands Mikasa Eren's hand and tells her that their friend is dead. The girl decides to take revenge and rushes to slaughter the Titans. After several successful attacks, she is thrown to the ground. While Mikasa is lying on the ground, the monster that ate Eren approaches her. The giant shows clear signs of trouble. Suddenly, the monster explodes, and a Titan glowing with red light appears. He begins to attack the creatures, and the scouts think that this is their new ally. However, after killing some of the monsters, the Titan rushes at the humans. When the monster grabs Mikasa, he loses his strength. The Titan falls on his stomach and begins to vaporize. Suda orders to cut the neck of the fallen monster. A healthy and unharmed Eren appears, but with red eyes and a strange shell. Do you also wonder if there will ever come a time when something similar will happen in our world?